Let's look at some facts about the line y equals mx plus b. Some of these will be things we've already talked about or that we already know, but I want to go through and review them and kind of sum them all up so we have them all gathered in one place. So our first thing that we're looking at is the y-intercept b. That tells us where the line crosses the y-axis. Okay. If your slope m is positive, so if m is greater than 0, the line climbs or increases as you look at it going from left to right. So that's that idea of those increasing functions. And similarly, if m is negative, so if it's less than 0, the line falls or decreases as we look at it from left to right. The slope m also tells us how fast the line is climbing or falling. So is it going really slowly or is it growing really quickly? The way that we determine that is through looking at the absolute value of m. So the larger the absolute value of m, the steeper the graph, or the faster it's either climbing or falling. So let's look at an example. It's pretty easy to do if we have positive slopes. So if I had m equals 2 and m equals 5 with positive slopes, 5 is the bigger number. It's pretty easy to do, and so this one will be growing faster. If we compare two negative slopes, so suppose m is -2 and in another one m is -1, then we look at this absolute value. So the absolute value of -2 is 2, and the absolute value of -1 is +1. So this 2 is a bigger number, which means this slope is dropping or decreasing faster than this one is. All right, so let's go ahead and put this into practice. Turn to the next page. And you'll notice we have 5 graphs and 5 functions. So what I'd like you to do is you're going to have, in a minute, pause the video, and I want you to match as best you can these functions to the graph. And you should be able to do this without using a calculator. What you want to do is think of those properties, identify the y-intercept, and then use the slope to narrow it down. So go ahead and pause the video, give this a try. Okay, so hopefully you gave that a try. Let's see if we got to kind of the same places. So I'll start by identifying the intercepts. You remember those intercepts are always going to be the number that's not attached to a variable. So this first one I have a -30, and remember to bring the sign along too because that is important. I have a 60, another 60, and then both of these have intercepts of 20. So then what I look for is I look to see, do I have any doubles? And I have 2 sets of doubles, which are going to have to correspond to these 2 points here. Okay, I have 2 lines going through that point. But this one doesn't have another function that also goes through it. So we can actually identify this one right away just off the intercept. And that's going to be right here. There's that -30. These were 20 and 60. And so this one with the y-intercept of -30 is going to be h of x. All right, then we need to look at the slopes for the ones that we have left to see if we can finish narrowing this down. So for these two that have intercepts of 60, this has a slope of -2. This one has a slope of -1. And then this one has a slope of 2, and this one has a slope of 4. So that slope is always the number attached to the variable. All right, so between these two positive ones, these are the easier ones to tell. This one with the 4 is going to grow faster or steeper. So I'm looking for the intercept at 20. So my choices are between A and B. The one most steep is A. So A is going to be g of x, and B is going to be f of x. Then I have these two left. And these are the same slopes actually that we looked at on the previous page. And we decided that this one was steeper because it's more negative, or if we took the absolute value, it would be a bigger value. So these are these 2 lines here, D and E. And the one that's falling the fastest, or who's going downhill the steepest, is going to be E. So that'll be K of X. And D is going to be, which one do I have left? J of X. Okay, and so we can also put these letters over here. And so it looks like, here's my E, here's my D, There's H, A, and B. All right, so hopefully that gives you a good matchup.